That night, as Elijah slept peacefully beside me, his breathing quiet, like someone without guilt, I got up and went to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror for a long time, studying every line, every mark that time had left on my face. 62 years old, 40 of them devoted to a man who had built a double life with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker. The tears finally came, silent at first, then racking sobs that I had to muffle with a towel so I wouldn't wake him. I wasn't just weeping for the betrayal. I was weeping for the woman in the mirror. Who was I without him? Who had Simone been before she became Mrs. Elijah Vance? The memories of my youth seemed to belong to another person, the girl who wanted to be a painter, who had won a scholarship to study in Paris, who had turned it down because Elijah had convinced her that starting a family was more important. The art will always be there, he'd said then, with that smile that melted my defenses. But the time for children won't. And I had believed him. I had packed away my brushes, traded canvases for diapers, and galleries for parent-teacher conferences. I didn't regret my children. Amara and Jamal were the best things in my life. But what had become of Simone, the artist? She had completely dissolved into Simone, the wife. The next day, while Elijah was at his real office, or perhaps his parallel life, I couldn't be sure anymore, I went up to the attic. There, in dust-covered boxes, I found my old art supplies. The brushes were stiff, the paints dry, but the sketches were still there, a testament to a talent I had abandoned for love, or what I had believed was love. I also found letters, photographs, and memories of our life together. Our wedding with Elijah, promising before God and 200 guests that he would be faithful until death. Amara's birth, Elijah crying as he cut the umbilical cord. Jamal taking his first steps. Elijah filming it with that old camera he loved so much. Real moments, genuine emotions, or so I had believed. When had the lie begun? My phone rang. It was Amara. "Mom, are you okay? I've noticed you've been acting weird lately." My daughter, always so perceptive. "I'm fine, honey, just a little tired." "Are you sure? I can stop by if you want. The kids are asking for Grandma." The kids? My grandchildren? Elijah's official grandchildren. I wondered if they knew they had an uncle and a little aunt in that blue house. Siblings they would never meet. The web of lies spread like a poisonous tapestry, touching innocent lives. "Sunday is better," I replied. "Dad will be home." A lie. On Sunday afternoons, Elijah had golf with clients. Now I knew it was likely family time at the blue house. After hanging up, I returned to my investigation. The bank statements I had ignored for years now made sense. Regular transfers to an account I didn't recognize, purchases at stores we never frequented, medical expenses that didn't match any of our illnesses. Elijah had been maintaining 2 homes, 2 complete lives, and I had been too trusting, too comfortable in my ignorance to notice. I found invoices for private academy tuition, music classes, and summer camps. Jalen played the violin. The baby, whose name I still didn't know, had been born at Emory University Hospital, the same one where our children were born. The audacity of the deception was almost admirable in its brazenness. That afternoon, I did something I had never done. I hired a private investigator, a discreet man recommended by a friend who had gone through a difficult divorce. "I need to know everything," I told him. "How long? How did it start? Everything." "Are you sure you want to know everything?" he asked, his voice heavy with experience and shattering lives with the truth. "Yes," I replied, though I wasn't sure of anything except that I couldn't keep living in this farce. Elijah came home that night with flowers. Calla lilies, my favorite, or the favorites of the Simone he thought I was. I no longer knew what I genuinely liked, what preferences were mine, and which ones I had adopted to please him. "You look beautiful," he said during dinner, taking my hand. The private investigator, a man named Agent Sterling with tired eyes that had seen too many secrets, came to the house a week later. Elijah was on one of his business trips, that is, playing happy family in the Blue House. Sterling laid a folder on my dining room table, the same table where we had celebrated 40 Christmases, 40 birthdays, a lifetime of lies. "Mrs. Vance, what I'm about to show you is not easy to digest," he warned, his voice professionally compassionate. "Are you sure you want to continue?" I nodded, my hands trembling as I opened the folder. The first page was a marriage certificate. Marcus Stanton had married Candace Stanton 12 years ago. Marriage, not an affair, not a mistress, but another wife. "But this is illegal," I stammered, my mind struggling to process the information. "Technically, yes," Sterling replied. "He used false documents, an alternate identity he has perfectly maintained for years. Elijah Vance and Marcus Stanton are the same person, but legally, they exist as two different individuals. It's a professional job, ma'am. Your husband is no amateur at this." The following pages were worse. Photographs of Elijah and Candace's wedding, an intimate ceremony on a beach. She was in a simple white linen dress. He, with that smile I thought I knew so well. Birth certificates. Jalen Stanton, born 11 years ago, 3 months after Elijah had an emergency medical conference in San Diego. Sky Stanton, the baby, born 7 months ago when Elijah was on a corporate leadership retreat. "There's more," Sterling said, moving to another section. "Your husband owns properties under his alternate identity. The house where the other family lives, a condo in Miami, a cabin in the Smoky Mountains, all paid for in cash with no suspicious mortgages. My inheritance, my mother's inheritance, which she had left me 15 years ago, a considerable sum that Elijah had wisely invested for our retirement. Now I knew where that money had truly gone. He had funded his other life with my dead mother's money." "How is this possible?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "How can someone live like this for so long?" Sterling shrugged. "I've seen similar cases, though none so elaborate. Your husband manages 2 businesses, one under each name. The second is a consulting firm that justifies his additional income and absences. It's brilliant in a twisted way." I continued reading. School records for Jalen, an excellent student, captain of the youth soccer team. Medical reports for Candace, fertility treatments Elijah had paid for years before she could conceive. They had struggled to have children, just like us at first. The irony was venomous. "There's one more thing you should know," Sterling said, clearly uncomfortable. "The other woman, Candace, she doesn't know about you. To her, her husband is a widower. The story he told her is that his first wife, Simone, died in a car accident 15 years ago. I was dead. In Elijah's narrative for his other family, I was dead. He had metaphorically killed his wife so he could have another. I wondered if he ever thought of the dead wife sleeping in another house, in another life, while he made love to Candace. I asked if there was anything about why, needing to understand the motivation behind such elaboration. Sterling pulled out another file. I discreetly interviewed some acquaintances from both circles. Apparently, your husband met Candace when she was his physical therapist after his knee surgery. The knee surgery. I remembered those months perfectly. Elijah complaining of pain, going to therapy 3 times a week, slowly recovering. I had been busy caring for my sick mother then, trusting him to follow his treatment alone. He had planted the seeds of his other life while I held my dying mother's hand. Candace became pregnant shortly after. Sterling continued, "Based on the dates, it seems your husband decided to maintain both lives instead of choosing one. Maybe because of the children, maybe because of the finances, maybe because he could. The financial documents suggest he handles nearly $3 million in assets between both identities. $3 million. Money I had inherited, earned, stolen, perhaps, to maintain his empire of lies. I stood up abruptly, running to the bathroom where I vomited until there was nothing left but bile. Sterling waited patiently, professionally, until the end. "What do you want to do with this information?" he asked when I returned. "I need time to think. Can you get me more information about his finances?" "Everything. Every account, every investment, every single cent." "Of course. Are you considering a divorce?" "I'm considering justice," I replied, surprised by the coldness of my voice. I spent the next 3 days in a hotel telling Elijah I was visiting my